Hey everybody, it's Katie, and this is the Dryden Weekly Hangout. This evening it is only Tracy and I in the Weekly Hangout. We're having some trouble with the link and have got the correct link posted, but it looks as if maybe people are not finding it. The other link tells them that they're the first person in the room, and so we may have a room full of people all by themselves thinking they're the first person, or a whole set of rooms. Whatever, so if people manage to find their way in, we're here. We did post a new link, so hopefully people will find us. But we're going to go ahead and start because Tracy's a lovely person and I'm a lovely person, and with this much lovely in the room, we felt like we should record it. All right, so just a sort of a quick, hi there about what's going on with Dryden. Dryden is moving at a fantastic clip right now. It's just astounding the number of things that are going on. Charlie Martin, who is the race car driver we're sponsoring in Europe, is having a fabulous summer. She met the Prime Minister of England a couple of weeks ago. And then this last week, there was a fuel strike in France and she got stranded. And so Charlie X, who is our fictional race car driver character in the science fiction universe, will be meeting the president of one of the divisions of TerraCore in a week, and then in 2 weeks we'll run into a fuel shortage. So we're just having a lot of fun. Charlie's having a good year and continues to end up on the podium in her races, and is having a lot of other adventures as well, and it's just really, really exciting to be following that and seeing our logo travel around the world and have those sort of adventures. So we're really having a blast like that. With that, we've got several projects coming that we've just gotten announcements about. Dan Hunt announced that he finished the first draft of the novel that he's working on way early. He publishes independently, so we don't know when it comes out, but Dan is one of our very favorite authors. It's just dynamite to get a hold of another Dan Hunt novel so soon. That's really, really exciting. We got a commitment out of Laura Conrad to a novel that will go into the horror universe. I have read sections 1 and 2, and when section 2 started, I went, oh, because Laura has really developed a lot of sophistication in her writing, and came at section 2 from an angle that I did not anticipate, and really did it well. And
I did. I thought it was going to happen that way.
Thought it was going to happen that way.
I did.
I spent the whole second part, instead of thinking about the story, thinking about the construction and going, damn, Laura's really good at this. Which was really good. And that environment, I don't know if people have heard Laura talk about this, but she has dreams, and then she uses them for the inspirations for her stories, because she has this absolutely incredible dream life with the most bizarre things going on. And knowing that, when you start to read the environments that she wrote, you end up with your forehead all rumpled together going, you dreamed this. Did you tell your therapist? Because, oh my God. And I don't know where that girl's imagination comes from, but wow, it's so exciting to see it on paper and headed into Dryden House. And she is somebody that we will publish, so she will actually be one of ours, which is really exciting. We have some other really fantastic things going on that are not exactly Dryden related.
No, we have Greta.
Yeah.
Eye of the Mother. She posted the picture of the upcoming book.
Greta van der Roel, I have forgotten, thank you. Greta van der Roel, who is another one of the authors who publishes in Dryden, but not through Dryden House, just showed up with a book cover the other day, Eye of the Mother. Her series is set 20,000 years, Tracy, in the future?
Something like that. It's in the Belle Epoque.
It's in the Belle Epoque, and she has an empire, and she has all of the adventures and misadventures of the empire, and she's one of the few people I know who successfully writes science fiction romance. And so we had Eye of the Dragon, A Matter of Trust.
Demon's Eye.
Demon's Eye, A Matter of Trust, and now we have Eye of the Mother, and they're related. She's writing related stories out there in the science fiction universe far out in the future, and that's really, really exciting. So we're having a great time with that. This month is payout month for Dryden. If you are an author or an artist, or for Dryden House rather, if you're an author or an artist for Dryden House and you have not received a payment advice, you need to get a hold of me, and tell me that you didn't get your payment advice. We have not made the payments yet, but you should have an advice telling you what your payment is. We're really excited that we are paying out over twice as much as we paid out in the last 6 months. In the prior 6 months, we pay biannually, and we had a really wide swing. We had a couple of products that were almost completely idle, and then a couple of products that really had very good periods. So some people got payment advices that were almost embarrassing to send out, but other people really got pretty healthy payment advices, and that makes me feel really good, because our commitment to our artists is that we don't pay up front, but we stay with your product forever, and we continue to support it forever. So to be able to go back to people who published 18 months ago or 24 months ago and go, look, here's your check. We may not be making anybody rich. We certainly aren't making anybody rich, but it feels really good to be keeping that promise that we're still behind things that we wrote years ago, and we're still supporting and developing authors and helping their back catalog have vitality and energy inside of it, which actually is a nice segue into what we have coming up in the future, because we now have an advertising budget. It's this big. Well, this is a true fact. Dryden House as a company loses money pretty consistently, and that's a decision, though, about growing the organization. I want to put Dryden House in a position to be successful and to someday be a nice money maker in lieu of retirement, I suppose. And so I pretty consistently take a loss in order to keep Dryden House running. And now that I have a new job that pays significantly better than the one I had, almost 4 times as much to be nearly precise, I can afford to lose more money on Dryden. And so Dryden now has a very small advertising budget. And with that, we are putting new products on, or putting the back catalog on sale, 1 item a month. And Tracy can talk in more detail about that. So we are now balancing, we are still running a new product a month, and now with that, we're running a back catalog that says, here's an advertisement, or here's a sale on an older product with some advertising behind that sale, a little bit. So that's the segue then into going forward. So if you haven't got your payment advice, call me right now. Well, email me. Don't call me, because I never answer my phone. All right.
You'll end up calling me anyway.
That's true.
Because it's my phone number on there, and my phone needs charging at the moment. So.
Okay, well then go ahead and call, because it's Tracy's.
Oh no! Wait a minute.
No, do send Dryden House at Yahoo, or Dryden Experiment at Yahoo, and email if you don't have a payment advice from me, because that's where I should be. That's where I receive emails, and you should have gotten a payment advice from that email address. I haven't heard back from everybody yet, but I didn't get any return messages that said I'm able to deliver. So I think we've got a few folks that are just busy with life. But our official payment day is the last day of June. We like to go ahead and pay as early in June as we can, but we've got a couple of weeks to figure out where everybody is and make sure that we're posting to the right PayPal account and so on and so forth. So, but that is in process now. So that's really exciting, and I feel so good about being able to meet that obligation to people, to my peeps. You guys are what makes Dryden awesome, and I really want to make sure you're rewarded for it. All right, so Tracy, how are you this evening?
I'm tired, but I'm good. I had a family reunion earlier today, so got to see people that I hadn't seen since I was really, really little.
Interesting. I took Lucas to Bonkers is what it's called. It's one of those places with the ropes and the slides and everything. And there was this grandma and grandpa sitting in the toddler area with a toddler, while the 4 other children, or 5 other children, I wasn't even sure how many, they moved so fast in that place, just demolished the entire rest of the building. And it was really kind of nice. I don't know where mom and dad, or mom or dad, or whoever was, but clearly grandma and grandpa had the kids for the evening and were just wearing their little asses out. And that was really good to see, because that's what I was doing to Lucas. So,
No,
all
that's
right.
what Nathan was doing. He was playing basketball and baseball with the bigger kids. And it's so funny because he was like trying to check a 14-year-old boy and guard him, keep him from scoring a basket. My son is not even 4 foot tall
Right, right.
because he's 7.
Well, I'll tell you what, the little kid slide is for little kids, and Lucas is not a little kid. He discovered, he discovered the big slide, and he's just throwing himself down it on his own. I'm just tagging along behind you. Yeah, climbing through those things is hard if you're old because your knees make that noise. And he kept getting ahead of me, and I'd be like, wait for me, wait for me. Oh, okay, I guess you're all right. He's all right. He's all right. So by the time we'd been there about 30 minutes, I was just like, look, I need to be close enough to you that some 12-year-old can't run you over, but otherwise I'm just following you. So we had a blast. Anyway, okay, well, aren't you glad, all of you, that you tuned in to the Dryden Experiments weekly hangout so that you could hear all of that? We're friendly. Okay, so let's talk about what's coming up, Tracy, in terms of publications and sales. We have just started June, and something interesting is happening in June.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, we will be releasing for sale. We'll be releasing advertising for sale for Alder's World 1, 2, and 3.
The whole novel.
Yeah, the whole bit. It's not going to be all in it's not going to be all in one, but it is going to be all 3 parts. They're all going to be on sale. So if you haven't received or if you haven't purchased Alder's World 1, 2, or 3, you'll be able to get it on sale in a couple of weeks.
And 1 is always free.
On Smashwords.
On Smashwords. So we will be making sure that it is free on Kindle also, and discounting the others on Kindle and Smashwords. But you can go ahead and pick up 1 anytime you'd like to on Smashwords. And one of the things that Tracy and I were talking about is we want to make sure that when we're advertising material, everybody sort of pick it up and promote it. You know, part of our model is the cooperative model, and we work under Creative Commons, and it's very important that the universe as a whole grow. So we really, really encourage you, if you're involved in Dryden, even if it's not your product, and you see that sale coming, post it and repost it and spam it and like it and comment on it for us, because that helps all of us in the long run, and we all want to be happy and profitable. So please do pick up things when you see those sales and share them around. Mm-hmm. All right. Then
still in June, at the end of June, for our new release cycle, at the end of June, we have a new game coming out. It's an expansion to Big Damn Dryden called Patrons and Vassals. And so we're really excited because that's really close and it's about to come out.
Yeah.
And so if you want to know, I mean, the main book dealt with the big 3. You know, you had Tara, you had Lynn, and you had Cirque. This is dealing with the smaller governments and the smaller companies. So, you know, if you wanted to know how things went with the League of Planets, then there you go. Or the Intergalactic Defense.
Interspecies Defense Fund.
Yeah, Interspecies Defense Fund, IDF. I always just refer to as IDF. They're involved, and so, you know, if you wanted to play a QB from one of the smaller corporations or even smaller governments, then this will be your opportunity to do so.
The IDF are Echo Guerrillas. Space Warrior Echo Guerrillas. They were referred to in the Bleeding Mind. They have what's called the Gaia Division, which are sort of drug-enhanced super hippies. But this is more their practical business arms and what sort of business they're involved in. And they run like raiders that will go in and strike planets that are doing bad things to the local ecosystem. So these are Greenpeace warriors in the 2500s. There's also an entirely new population in there that Nick has created just for this book, that are the sort of fringe world pirate warlord characters, and they are
Mucklock.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up. Something
I can't pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it, and I read it.
We're gonna have to get Nick on here one week.
Mumlock.
So we know we're saying it right.
Mulmac. I don't know. I can't. I'm lost.
They provide a nice kind of nomadic warrior, tribal sort of mentality to the science fiction universe. So they're very different than some of the sort of corporate big government things that we've done in the past. Came as a complete surprise to me. I didn't know Nick was going to do that, but I was really rewarded when he did. I was like, yeah.
They made me think of a Mad Max type.
Yes, very much. Yeah. Or I felt a little bit Firefly when I was reading it. They were closer to the
Reavers
to the Reavers than they were to the crew of Serenity, but I did sort of feel a similarity there when I was reading it, which I hope would be flattering to Nick. I think it would. So that's coming out, and then also that's got flying space whales in it, which
it does. It does have flying space whales.
There are both hybrid flying space whales that can be played as NPCs and spaceship space whales that can be played, I think, also as NPCs, but they're really pretty limited and would be hard to play. Yeah, a lot of very good stuff in that book. So we really look forward to getting into market. And that's the end of June. So
now we start July. Our sale book in July will be Sky Goddesses of Dryden.
Now, I want to stop for a minute. Of all of the books that aren't selling the way I think they should, the number one is Sky Goddesses of Dryden. It's hard to explain Sky Goddesses until you actually see it, and I hope that when we do the advertising for it, we can maybe actually put a couple of panels in there. They are 4 short stories that were written by Laura Conrad, who's one of our very favorites from all time. And they were illustrated by a woman. I've only ever worked with her once, but she comes from a sort of a manga, anime kind of a background. And she really did an incredible job of capturing the charm. The drawings are fairly simple. It's not super elaborate kind of stuff, but it's just a charming book. You sit down and read it, and you haven't learned the great secrets of the universe. You haven't, conquered any great monsters, but it was really pleasant and really enjoyable, and very nice picture storytelling. A lot of the things that were written in Laura's book or in Laura's short stories appear in the images rather than in the text, and it's really very well done. And I really hope that we can get behind that book and help it have a better 6 months this 6 months, because it was one of the ones that as a matter of fact, it was the very first one we ever published, and I just thought it was so charming, and I didn't have any way to support it at the time, and I'm really hoping to make that up to Laura and Danielle now that I've got the resources to do so. So beautiful book, very, very light and sweet and touching. Nick is pinging away at me, Tracy. He's talking about Charlie X, and his main concern is actually about the play testing.
Okay. And that actually segues into the next thing, because it's the Charlie X game.
Okay. That's what up with that. Okay, so then July the 28th is Charlie X.
It's Charlie X game, which is an expansion to Big Damn Dryden. So Charlie X is actually going to be like way infiltrated into the Dryden universe. Not only is Charlie going to be a web serial comic, which she is right now, she is also going to be featured into game mechanics for Big Damn Dryden. So that's really exciting.
Right on. Uh,
Now, before we go any further,
um,
since Nick's talking about testing and stuff like that, all of these dates are fluid. If
yes.
we need to push something around, then we're fluid. So don't think these are set in stone. So if it doesn't happen, don't go emailing me crying you didn't get what you wanted when you wanted it.
Are you telling me to don't call you crying? Because that's like my major emotional outlet.
You know, I tell you how I feel about when you call me crying anyway. But I'm talking about those people who don't know. I do not handle tears well. I'm not a very sympathetic person.
Which is why I call you, to remind me how weak and fallible I am.
But no, I'm really not a very sympathetic person when it comes to tears. I mean, I am to a point, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Quit crying.
Right on.
So, yeah.
Nick has ill children today, so he's busy with that. Okay, so coming back to Charlie X and whether or not I
Mm-hmm.
know about it, you are absolutely right that Charlie is very deeply infiltrated. Part of what we say is great about what we do is that, because we're using the Creative Commons license, everybody that's interested can jump in and add a contribution. And I wanted to sponsor Charlie Martin, the race car driver, but I didn't really know how to make that profitable. People looking at cars on French mountain sites are not likely to turn around and buy our books. It's a kind of a weak link. So I contacted Kat Haywood, who's a graphic artist, and said, "Hey, if we did this, could we draw a graphic novel about it?" And she was into that idea. And I contacted Nick and said, "So could we do a rules expansion?" And he said, "It's a great idea." And we are doing that thing where we said we wanted to be a big company or a big universe that has its own role playing and books and games and blah blah blah, and yet still be a bunch of independent agents working on our own. And that's exactly what's going on with Charlie X, and it's just fabulous. Charlie goes off into Europe and has adventures and writes us about them or posts blog posts about them, and we write story elements into Charlie X the next week that follow along. And then Nick has written the rules, and we're discussing right now, except it got interrupted by sick children, how to get that game play tested and ready to go into market in July. So fabulous. All right, I'm sorry, I monologued, and
That's okay.
All right, so we have finished July. My goodness.
Yeah, now we're in August. Now, August is a very special, very, very super special month for me. Now, mind you, and I did not start working at Dryden House Publishing in August. No. I actually started in May, but
Right.
the first book I worked on was released in August of last year. So for an anniversary, we're putting Lorelei You'll Never Die on sale. And this is by Laura Conrad, who's releasing the Go-Away Girl next year. Yes. And that we've read parts of, they were really amazing. Yes. And so I'm really excited. This book will be going on sale in August as a 1-year anniversary. Let's recheck it, because this book is real special to me. This is like a heart book for me.
I'm going to tell the story. I know it's been told many times, but it's a wonderful story. When I first hired Tracy, she was really kind of insecure about what it was that she was supposed to do and how she was supposed to do it. And I kept saying, this is the place where we don't write rules. We get it done, and we behave in a creative manner, in an original manner, and we solve problems in novel ways. And I said, I want to give you Laura Conrad, who was, and in a lot of ways still is, my favorite author. Although she has more competition than she used to. We've really got some very talented authors in our pool. But I had a short story collection from Laura that I wanted to write, and I was like, well, Tracy, take it and do what you think is best. And she was like, well, okay. And I don't know how many weeks later, Tracy, you and Laura wrote me back, and we said, yeah, we don't think it's a short story collection. We think
it was within the week. Because I got to reading the short stories, and I asked her, I was like, well, is this all the same character? Because they feel like the same character. And she's like, well, this group is, but this group isn't. And I'm like, yeah, how about we do something a little bit different? And she's like, okay, what's your plan? So I told her what my idea was, and she said, "That sounds so freaking awesome." And so that's when we emailed Katie and said, "We're not going to really release it as a collection of short stories. These are going to still be short stories, but they're going to tell a much, much bigger picture."
Right.
And we went from, I think it was 16 stories to like 25. We had added quite a few, and she'd written a few specifically for this book. And so,
right.
I mean, we went from a few short stories to a bunch more. And
And
this,
it has
go
this
ahead, I'm sorry.
interesting Pulp Fiction feel, because the lights come on and we have the short story, and then the lights go off, and they come back on in a different location at a different time, still focused around the same main character. And it's not until you read maybe about the fourth one that you go, wait a minute, this is a single story about this character
And
and
it has
her.
movement.
Yeah, it really does. But it really pleased me. I really, really believe in this cooperative model and in people being empowered to do what they believe is right, and taking ownership. And I gave Tracy my favorite author, and a week later she said, "Yeah, this isn't a short story collection; it's a novel." And I was like, "Yeah, you're going to do fine here." So I'm really excited to have it come back too. I wouldn't say at all that Lorelei is charming. It's a difficult book, and it has some really challenging and disturbing moments. But Laura's writing style is very conversational and enjoyable to read, and just sort of engages you without bogging you down, and huge blocks of narrative that never stop, and it feels very friendly, even when she's describing very difficult things. And so I'm really excited. This is one of the ones I will almost certainly read Lorelei in August when it comes back, just because I'll be thinking about it, and I like it, and I've read it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and we'll read it again. Well, I found Eugene.
Yay.
Yay, we'll get Eugene in here.
Hello, Eugene. Even though you're not here yet. That leads us to the end of August. The end of August, we have another expansion, but this time it's not for Big Dan Dryden. It's actually for the Dryden Space Battles game, which is the card game. And we're having our first expansion pack for the card game, and this will feature the Space Whales by Charlotte.
Woohoo!
I've seen some of the art, and it actually looks pretty good. I'm really excited because the space whales are kind of interesting. I mean, because you get these whales like swimming in space.
So before there were any other books, hey Eugene, how are you?
Hi, Eugene.
Hey,
We were having trouble with that other link.
yeah, I noticed.
We gave up on it, and moved over here. So before there was any Dryden House, when it was just me, and a friend of mine, and really just me, because I kept telling him, no, this will work, no, this will work. I found this art that was cybernetic space whales, which
Oh, wow.
cybernetic space whales. And the weird thing was it had these big rings around the whales, which matched our faster than light travel rules that I had built, for how it was accomplished. So I wrote this author, or this artist, I've never met her before, never heard from her, didn't know who she was, and said, look, these fit in our universe. I want to put them under Creative Commons so that we can have them. And she said, okay. Well, she's Charlotte Garnier, and she is a fabulously talented artist. She lives in Quebec. She's in Quebec.
I think so.
The woman with the galaxy for her head, that is my profile image, was by her. She does the space whales. She does a lot. She entered a Greenpeace competition. Was it Greenpeace? Somebody who was doing a environmental protection poster, and she entered just this fabulous poster with all of these animals. She does some wonderful totem art too. And her space whales are a significant part of the history of the future in the Dryden experiment, and they appear here and there. And one of the places that they will be appearing is in Dryden Space Battles, and she did all of that art for the Dryden Space Battles already, and it's ready, and it's waiting for that project. And it's just another thing. Every time I get a chance to work with Charlotte, I'm just like, guess what I get to do this month? So she's fabulous to work with. Tracy, can we take a minute and just introduce Eugene?
Yeah.
Hey, Eugene, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do for Dryden?
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because the message came up saying my microphone wasn't working. But okay, well, I've been working at the Dryden universe for pretty soon. Will be coming on for a year. And my work in Dryden is basically I was one of the authors on Rise and Open, and
Yes.
um, 6 authors. I was one of them. I actually told the story from the point of view of the European. Um, Also, one of my stories is I
Sorry, not you, my dog. I'm sorry.
All
um
right.
I sort of lay the groundwork for the Dryden Nightmares universe.
Yes, you did so very well.
And also I wrote a story for the first Dryden Nightmares compilation. And the next one I believe is coming out in October.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to be writing a second story for that. The 2 stories, even though they're both nightmares, they're they're not. They're going to be set because the thing about the Nightmares universe is that it's a multiverse, so they're going to be set in 2 totally different universes.
Excellent.
But this story I'm writing is actually a sorry. This one is actually a the sort of not really prequel, sort of introduction to a book that I'm going to write. It's called this the overall like franchise or series or whatever. It's called Empire of the Carnivores. And it deals with a world in which uh, sort of sentient. The dominant creatures are sentient ants and sentient wasps. They're human-sized. They're very vicious, and so this is going to start as an introduction to that. And I'm gonna be posting up on my. There's actually a piece of artwork that I'm gonna be posting up on my um, authors page, which is sort of promotional piece of artwork. And so that's the universe set up there is gonna segue into it's a segue into into the novel. So people, if they read it, they'll be a little familiar with the universe. Also, in terms of the sci-fi universe, once this is done, I'll be working on a short story. I've already started a little bit of it. Short story for a compilation centering around a character by the name of Lucy Okuda.
Yes.
And also, I do have another project which I've written several pages for the Bell Epic. But that's kind of slow going because of this other stuff going on. But um, there's that, and there's also the work that I was doing for Papin's World about the history of the aliens there. That again, I put a little bit on hold because I'm working on these other projects. But so yes, the big things that are now is Empire of the Carnivores, then Okuda, also that the Bell Epic story, as well as the background information for Papin's World.
Excellent. Excellent. And Eugene has the sort of unenviable position of having the most hated character in all of Dryden. Well, you know, the Europan, who is the sentient life form who lives in the bottom of the ocean of Europa, gets very frustrated with humans in 2700, and it sort of just kicks them off the planet. I mean, it's a bloody mess. And Eugene did a really excellent job of this character who perceives itself really almost as a god. It is the dominant force on Europa. It's well aware that it's more sentient than humans, and that the destructive force that it has prepared will be completely overwhelming to the humans on the planet. And it's really pretty conceited and stuck up about it. And it's really excellent work. Eugene's work is really, really great. And you can tell it's great because everybody fucking hates the Europan.
Can I tell you something that a reviewer had sent to me personally, but they never posted it in their review themselves about the European and some of the European stories? They sit there and they said by the time they got to the third one or the fourth one, they said that all they wanted to do is they were flipping their Kindle off going, F you, buddy! Because, you can't kill humans off that way. F you, man! We will survive! And I was like, that's awesome.
It's really awkward to say to an author, "You did a fabulous job. Everybody totally hates that character." But that was really sort of, the point is that we needed a point in the history of the universe at which humans are no longer dominant, so that we can start introducing other aliens and get into some softer technologies. I wanted to have a sort of a hard sci-fi noir, immediate future for folks to write in, sort of Blade Runner kind of stuff. But then we needed to change the rules and shake things up. And I didn't realize when I started proselytizing about we should have this character destroy all of the humans on Europa, that Eugene would write it so well and it would be so thoroughly despised. But it's sort of like the bad guys in a Bruce Willis movie. Everybody just hates those guys.
Yeah.
So it's a compliment, but it's one that you have to give sort of delicately. Eugene's work was very, very good, and you can tell by how pissed people get at that character. They do.
There is one thing I want to say though, and this is going to tie into the story, the Okuda story, which is going to filter into another story, which again I've sort of put off in the past. I don't want to overload myself, but all I'm going to say is that you say right now the European is the most hated character at least in the sci-fi universe. That is going to change. That is going to change.
All right. Quickly. All right. Well, good luck, because you set a high standard for yourself. All right. So, Tracy, we actually left off with the end of August, and we were starting September. Oh, she's letting her dog out. So I'm going to start September. What we will be putting on sale first in September is something completely unlike anything we've ever done. Many, many years ago, I worked for Froggy Bottom Press and their magazine, Nocturnal News Magazine, which was owned by my queen mom, K.A. Patterson, a fabulous writer and someone who taught me more about the publishing industry really than anybody else, and by far. She was really my mentor for years and years, thinking about how publishing works and how to get it accomplished. And I wrote a series of articles for them called The Gory Details, and I had this character who was this pro-bloods and guts sort of troll kind of character. We weren't really sure where he came from, but he would explain to people in these 1,000-word articles what would happen in the real world if you did the things that they did in horror in horror movies. And so, his observation was that weed whackers will give you deli thin slices, and et cetera, and sometimes it was actually sort of fact-based, and sometimes it was entirely bullshit, but it was a lot of fun to read. And when K.A. found out that we were starting a horror universe, she was kind enough to give us rights to The Gory Details. And so, welcome back. So in September, we will release on is it the 15th, Tracy? It's the 15th?
Mm-hmm. That's the tentative date, yeah.
The Gory Details, which this is the sickest stuff I ever wrote by far. It's disgusting and revolting and very fun.
Funny.
And very gory. What is your very favorite thing that you've edited so far, Tracy?
I had to say the freezing one. Just the snarkiness in that one just kills me.
Okay. I have no idea what that means. I remember the freezing one. I remember observing that you would never let a character off as comfortably as freezing to death unless you could wake them up with horrid frostbite. Very, very late in the process of freezing to death, you become very comfortable. You have a brain center that keeps track of where your body is and whether or not you're in pain and so on and so forth. And once you get a sufficient point frozen, it stops getting data, and just curious to its engineering, if it's not getting any response, it decides that there's no problem. And it's a very terrifying moment as you approach freezing to death, that you stop feeling cold and you stop feeling uncomfortable, and it's a warning sign that you are getting critically cold and are in danger of losing yourself completely. So I do remember commenting that as the goremonger, I would never let a character off so easily. Or so enjoyably, have them enjoy dying so much when you couldn't have them awake and screaming in agony. Um, so we look very forward. I summarized an entire uh, Dante's Inferno in 1,000 words, which was an insult to Dante and to a lot of other folks as well. But I had a lot of fun doing it. I proposed a sport where you get 2 small cars and a whole frozen cow, and you have 2 overpasses, and you score a point anytime you get the cow under an overpass. So just a lot of nonsense, a whole lot of nonsense, and we will be re-releasing it thanks to K.A. Patterson, who is just an amazing woman and was fabulous, fabulous for me to work with all those years. So wonderful that we're getting, at least in some small way, to stay in contact with her. Then, you want to take back over, Tracy?
Sure. At the end of September, we'll be releasing Project Mercury, which is another small expansion in the Big Damn Dryden role-playing game universe, which is a Dryden universe. But it's for the Big Damn Dryden role-playing game.
And Project Mercury is a little bit different than the other releases we have. For those of you who were Dungeons and Dragons players back in the day, it's more of a module. It's a set of environments and a set of conflicts, and it's not really built on a singular plot line like a previous, like a Dungeons and Dragons module would have been. Players can participate in this piece or not in that piece, and the game master can sort of select. But rather than expanding the rules, it's a pre-built adventure. Nick wanted to kind of branch out a little bit, I think, and do a little guidance to actual gameplay. And I'm putting words in his mouth. I shouldn't do that. But anyway, he produced Project Mercury, which is more of a module than a rules expansion. And it's the first one. And we've actually had it for a while, and it's been waiting for a spot in the publishing cycle. So we'll be excited to finally have that at market. All right, that's everything that I got written down, Tracy. I know that we go on through the end of the year.
Yeah, mid-October we're going to be putting the intro to Dryden Nightmares on sale. And then at the
And there's an important reason for that.
And because at the end of October we're going to be putting Dryden Nightmares Volume 1 out. Yeah. So this is new material. I think we've gotten a story promised from Laura.
Yes.
And we've got a story promised from Eugene. We've got a story promised from you. And I think, do we not have a story promised from Fluffy, or no?
I don't know if we do from Fluffy. We actually have a story from Scott Coatsworth.
Yes, we have one from Scott. And I don't know if Kitty is promised one or not. And there is another one who has told me they have intentions, but we've not seen any material from them yet.
So we feel like we're in pretty good shape. For those of you who are writing and working, we really want that material in August.
By August 1st.
Yeah, we want the material in July. We need it by August 1st. So yeah.
Deadline is August 1st. If it's brought to us after August 1st, then it's just SOL, and we'll mark it for next year's. Right.
And talking about Dryden Nightmares, after some coaxing, Kitty Sarkozy submitted her short story, Dream Girl, to the Bram Stoker Awards. So she is competing in Bram Stoker this year, and in order to be in Bram Stoker, you have to be published, and we are her publisher of record for that story. So we are really, really excited. That process, they get a lot of submissions, so the initial review committee will go through and make selections about which short stories actually go into the competition. And then their celebrity readers read those. And that story is not what a lot of people think about when they think about horror, but it is creepy as shit. And it is really, really well written. And we told her actually before we went into production that we wanted to try to get that story out somewhere after we published it. There's a whole range of contests and awards that can only be won for published fiction. It was published in 2016. It's part of the 2016 competition, and Tracy and I both felt like of all of the stories we've handled, including my stories, and you would expect me to be
including anything I've ever written,
and including anything Tracy's ever written, the one that we've read that we felt like had the best opportunity or the best chance in a big competition like that was Dream Girl, and that's with excellent stuff out there. I really like Otuanju that Eugene had in that collection, and I really love Laura Conrad's work, and she had 2 stories in that collection. We weren't hurting for talent. We just felt like that story felt a little different. That story bugged me from the time I read it. I kept thinking about it, and so we decided to encourage her to submit, and we hope that even if she just makes it into the juried round, that would be really exciting. I would be so happy for her. So hopefully we'll hear exciting news from her. We'll get this email that's like, oh my God! Bram Stoker, keep your fingers crossed. All right, so we are at the end of October.
And our last official release is going to be the Charlie X graphic novel in the beginning of November.
Yes.
And so we're going to be taking the web comic that we've got going on right now on Tumblr, and we are going to compile it, and we're going to prettify it, and we're going to slap a nice fancy old cover on it, and we're going to release it for purchase.
Yes. And that will conclude our publishing year, because our rules is that we get to take the whole month of December.
Right. Now, we're off on as far as like putting out new material, but that doesn't mean Dryden House Publishing is done. What we're going to be doing is pretty much from the Black Friday to Christmas, we're going to like really start hardcore hitting our back catalog and putting all this stuff on sale, so that if you want to give them as gifts, if you want to, if you want to purchase it for yourself because you got some Christmas cash, then you'll be able to do so. And so we're going to be doing that quite frequently throughout that 1 month or so period to let everyone know that this is available.
Yes. So it won't be that we're not active, but what we found is that we work on people's passions. People are passionate about writing and they're passionate about their art, and we create opportunities for that. But between Thanksgiving and Christmas, people like to be engaged with their families. They like to be traveling. This is the time when they would most like to be putting their passions down and going on vacations or doing whatever their other holiday stuff was. And Gavin and Tracy and I met last year after the Christmas period, and we just decided that we don't release. So we will have some activity going on. The catalog will be moving around, and we'll have some sales going on, but we really want everybody to just take that time off and enjoy themselves and come back fresh and ready to work next year. So we don't release in December. Dryden House rules. Now, 2017 has some exciting promises in it. We have not put anything on the calendar for 17 yet, but Laura Conrad, Doorway Girl.
Mm-hmm. She's got another one that will probably be released then too, because she'll be done with Doorway Girl long before then. Remember, she said she's writing 2 stories.
No.
And so she did way early on. She said she had 2 ideas in her head, and so she was focusing on the one, and then right after that, she'll probably hit up the other.
Because
so potentially at the early part of the year we'll have Doorway Girl, and at the end of the year we'll have the other one.
The other one about who's going to eat the baby.
Yeah, no, wait, well, maybe it's about the baby, but remember the dude that was the writer, and he had the girl that come over and clean his house for him? He was kind of a hermit.
Yeah.
That one. is the one I think it's going to be. You think it's about Laura, she gives you snippets and you don't know where the bejesus it's coming from. And so you get all these snippets and you're not exactly sure which story is tied in with this particular snippet. And so I know there's two, and I think the Gorway girl is actually the baby eating one.
Well, I wondered about that because I thought that was maybe the dogs from the Gorway girl eating the baby, but then I got clear into part 2, and I hadn't read anything that sounded like it was leading up to that, so I decided that was from a different book. But
who knows?
What do I know? I don't know.
Wait, are there going to be 2 Gorway Girl books, or is this going to be something totally different?
No, this is 2 parts. This is just 2 parts of the book. It's what we've got right now. We've just got 2 parts of the book.
Right.
Which I'm pretty sure there's going to be more than 2 parts, but yeah.
I think
or more than 3 parts.
I think she said it was 3.
I don't know. It felt like there would be more than 3, but then again, it could be just my greedy bookworm self.
Right. Every time she writes something, you tell her that it was insufficient and she needs to write more. Which I never tried to discourage you from.
Well, no, because she was sending us part for the Gorway girl, and it was small, and I said, yeah, about that. This is going to be so much bigger than what we can handle in Dryden Nightmares, the intro to Dryden Nightmares. And I'm like, you mentioned this battle of the boy. And she's like, yeah, it's like, write about the battle. Focus on the rest of this.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And she's like, okay. I was like, because this world is huge, and there's no way you're going to be able to fit it in a small space.
One of the things that Tracy does, and I'm not sure how she does it, is get writers to actually write and to write big things. I sent her chapter 1 of Alder's World, and she said, that's not enough. And I said, well, that's all I've written. And she said, well, write more. I said, well, I don't want it. And she said, well, do it.
No, I just said Sam had to tell. You have to tell Sam's story. Sam's story needs to be told. It has to be told. It was necessary. It was a requirement for breathing.
It really did. I just love Sam and Ellen. I'm so glad you prompted me to finish that. Then we also know that there is talk of a superhero book from Nick.
Oh, gosh. I read chapter 5 the other day. I've got chapter 6. I've got to read it tonight.
How is
I'm
it?
so excited. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm excited to see where it goes. We've got a lot of different elements in there, and some of them are very surprising. And I'm trying to figure out where they fit in. There's a really creepy character, and mum is the word on that. But the character is like, he creeps me out.
You know, Nick's brain is one of the brains that just amazes me that we work with here in Dryden. You know those places where you go to like a swim park and they have the lazy river thing? It's as if you're on one of those with an infinite number of branches. You head off down that one and you find Frankenstein Atomic Frontier down it. And you head off down that one and you find a tabletop war game down it. And you head off that one and you find a superhero novel down it. And it's just like, oh my God, dude, how long would I have to surf around in here before I saw everything? You know, we haven't even talked about like Omega Ball and some of the stuff that he did with Dryden.
But yeah, so the superhero story is coming along very nicely. It's really, really, it's big. If that makes any sense, the world is large, and the mechanics are really interesting on how the abilities are and how they're portrayed and all of that. And so I've been sending him comments back with questions like, I don't understand, how does this work? Okay, so if this works this way, so then it's like that. And sometimes the answers are pretty much what I figure, and sometimes the answers really shock me. So I'm pretty excited. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, tonight I've got to read chapter 6.
And we know that the Akuda novel will come out.
Yes, the Akuta novel will come out in 2017. We've got material from me, and we've got material from Gavin, who has promised more material, and Eugene has promised material, and Nick has promised material, and as did you. We got one of your stories.
We have one of mine, and I promised a second one. Yeah.
Oh, there's one thing I want to mention briefly. This is not a sure thing at all, so I don't know if this will go through. I don't know if it will. But the artist who did that one commission, which I'm gonna post up the final draft soon. Sorry.
That's it.
I sent an email, and I don't know if he'll get back to me. But I mean, she'll get back to me. I don't know if it'll be positive or not. But yeah, I proposed the idea of me and him working on a series of within the Empire of the Carnivores, working on a series of graphic novels. Is basically Empire of the Carnivores graphic novels, which may either graphic novels or web comic, because web comic wouldn't for printing or anything like that. Which would deal with, at least early on, maybe sort of some smaller stories. Again, I don't know what he'll say, but again, I mean, I really think his artwork really fits with the type of stuff that I'm trying to do. So who knows how that'll get to. I'll definitely be, as soon as I get some more money, I'll be commissioning some more art. But I mean, yeah. But if that's positive, then, and the thing is, I know you guys are really busy with uh, publishing and stuff. So we, depending on what happens, if this is positive, we might just go out and have a website and do the sort of put out these comic strips or put out whatever separate from Dryden Publishing. But who knows? Who knows what'll come through?
Well, that's perfectly acceptable in our model. Part of our model is that as long as you honor the Creative Commons, you don't have to come to Dryden House.
Okay.
A lot of folks don't. Dan doesn't use Dryden House. Brett doesn't use Dryden House. I heard from just very briefly from Don Van Osdal about something that he was looking at doing that wouldn't be through Dryden House. So we Dryden House serves the Dryden experiment, but the Dryden experiment is not obligated to work with Dryden House. So.
Right.
Okay. And one thing also, I don't know if you mentioned some of the people who are going to be working on the next horror compilation. And I heard something. My computer's a little bit choppy, but I think Dan might actually be good for that because he does kind of that mystery noir style, which I think would, because it's all types of horror, which I think would fit very well within the Nightmares universe.
I'm glad you said that, Eugene. He said something in passing, but I don't know if it was about Nightmares or about Akuta. But he said, "Oh, I ought to give that a try, or I might want to take a look at that, or tell me more about that someday." And I'm glad you said that because I had forgotten that he had expressed interest, and if he's finished his novel well ahead, he might be casting around for things to do.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to him. Thank you. All right. Well, do we have anything else that we know we're going to do in 2017? That we think we're going to do?
All right. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Right.
Not off the top of my head that we've talked in definitives.
Okay. And we have actually run this meeting for a full hour. That's amazing.
I will have my story out in 2017 at least.
And let's refer back to that again. One of the really exciting things that is going on that Dryden is very happy about, the Dryden story, is that Tracy is working on a book called The Beekeeper, and it's creepy as shit and really interesting. And you should all go stop by her page and see her postcards or her business cards.
It's not going to be in Dryden. It's actually just me.
Yeah.
But I have 2 stories coming out in Dryden soon.
Yeah. And the Beekeeper, it's actually his business card.
Do what?
The business card that Tracy made is actually the Beekeeper's business card. So.
Yeah, this is business cards.
And I have. Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I happen to know that Gavin Revitt has been contracted to do the cover.
Yes, and I'm so excited because everyone thinks that the business card is indicative of what the cover is going to look like, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
No, it is not indicative at all. But yeah, instead of doing bookmarks, because I do promotional material, and I'm going ahead and going to pre-promote this book, instead of bookmarks, I've ordered business cards for my favorite little interrogator.
My favorite little interrogator. You mean, yeah, interrogator is in They Will Die. I'm trying to give you the answer.
Yeah, I am not. I am not one of those happily ever after authors.
No. No, you are
So,
not.
no, I'm not, and I've come to accept that about myself.
You are lucky to get out of this alive, or perhaps unlucky to have gotten out of this alive. Awesome.
Or you're luckier because you did not come out of this alive.
All right, so we're at an hour, and we have so much going on that it takes an hour just to talk about it. It's amazing. So, I set out however many years ago now, 4 years ago now, with this idea that there were so many talented authors and artists out there who weren't being tapped because the market was so narrow that it couldn't see them and couldn't recognize them, and that if we got out there and recognize people for the talent that they have without asking them to wait to be discovered, or without asking them to participate in overburdensome contracts, that we could do something really remarkable. And frankly, it is one of the major drawing points on my resume now, the success that we have had doing that. It's just been brilliant watching the people develop, watching the talent develop, watching people gain confidence in themselves, watching people leave us to go work on bigger projects because they realize that they're that good. That's amazing, and that's flattering, and that's what I said was there. I said there's amazing talent out there, and nobody's touching it, and I think I know how to go get it. And so I work with just this fabulous team of people, and it's funny, we're almost like a family. We get cantankerous, and I get mad at people, and they get mad at me. And then people page me about who it is that they're mad about, or who it is that they're really happy about, and they think that I should be happy about too. And it really gets to be like a family. And it's delightful, and it's lovely, and some of my very best friends in the whole world are in my Dryden team, irregardless of Dryden. And that's a lovely feeling, and I just want everybody to know that I really, really appreciate the work. And when I get moments like this month when I'm doing payouts and I get a chance to show you a bit of how valuable you are and how awesome the work that you do is, I feel really great. So congratulations to everybody on a great 6 months. We look forward to an awesome next 6 months. And then 2017, we're already working on it. You guys we're just going so fast and developing so much material. Thank you to everybody. Tracy, last comments?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Eugene, last comments?
No, I think I'll stuff several. Oh, have you talked to Damien? I haven't seen him in a while.
I talked to him a few days ago. Well, we can talk about that when we turn off the thingy.
Right on. I think that Damien and Tracy do beta reads for each other sometimes.
Okay.
But we'll cover that later. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you.
You too.